Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a First-Plymouth member, and I'm here to talk about living with my terminal cancer.
It is so good to sit to have a conversation, and we've had these conversations in the past. This one is great to have. It's a different conversation because this time I'm sitting with Ryan, one of our folks here at First Plymouth, and we're going to have a conversation about church and life and death, and it is a joy to be with you, Ryan.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate your time, and I've been looking forward to this.
So before we get into some of those conversations can go deep really fast, and certainly we've had enough conversations like that before, but let's just start. Tell me, who are you? Tell me, who is Ryan King?
Lived in Lincoln my whole life. Grew up here, born and raised, and just had in my opinion, awesome childhood. Grew up in the 70s, 80s, and it just, was before all of this social media and all that stuff. And, I worked a lot of jobs when I was younger and learned to do a lot of things, and ended up a great company, worked for 21 years, and it was just amazing. But I have a brother lives here, and we just, Lincoln's pretty cool. I probably wouldn't have said that 10 years ago just because, you're like, why didn't I ever leave? But Lincoln's a pretty nice place to grow up, that's for sure.
So for the Lincolnites, one of the questions that often gets asked is, okay, so where did you go to high school?
Northeast. Went to Northeast. Did not graduate.
Okay.
I decided, well, I could probably get my GED quicker. And that's what I did. Instead of 3 years I went for 1 year, and then I had 3 years left, and I just went in and took my GED. It took me 3 weeks.
There you go.
And it was just then it was just off to working. I've always enjoyed working. I've never had a hard time working, and man, I did a lot of jobs, from laying carpet then to being a trash man, just little things here and there to, get through.
So back in those days, tell me a little about faith, church. What was that like? Did you go to church? No?
We did. We went to, when I was young, I don't remember the age, but I'm going to guess from when I was born till 6 or 7, we went to Second Baptist Church here in Lincoln. And, I remember that church, there was always something going on. Not sure if I really learned faith at that point. Just because, it was, my parents were going, and here, go to Bible, or would go to Sunday school, and, it was just a playtime because I was kind of so young, and I'm sure we learned, and I have had things that come back, you're like, oh my, I remember that from that point in time. And then, my parents split up, and church kind of stopped. My faith didn't necessarily stop, but it wasn't in my life fully, at that point.
So you were, like many other people, in that age, you were like in those teenage years, early young adulthood, like you were just doing your thing. You were living your life, trying new things. Was there a job that caught your attention specifically that kind of you said, okay, here, I'm doing it now?
So I had a friend, really good friend, who has passed on, but his dad laid carpet. And it was just something, I don't know. I've always been into working with my hands, and so I laid carpet from the time I was probably like 16 to maybe 21, 22. And, it was me and his son. We had our own crew, and we just went and did it. And it was, it was fun. It was it was working with my hands and kind of being the carpenter, and man, I learned so much doing that.
So, that kind of sense of independence, you're talking about kind of the early young adulthood, which, a lot of times when you're that age too, you can take on the world. You have this sense of you have a whole life ahead of you. And tell me about then in your personal life, did you, in relationships, did you get married? Tell me about that part of your life.
So first and foremost, I thought I was invincible
Oh,
as a
okay.
young man. I could do anything. There
Got
was
it.
nothing, and I had, it's probably just like anybody else. I had dreams. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be,
Oh.
a race car driver. Well, just all these things. But I didn't get married. I didn't even get married until I was almost 40.
Uh-huh.
So, it was more just, I had so much fun as a young man, just being a young man,
Yeah.
it was go out, have fun, get your buddies and, go to the lake or, whatever we did, we always managed to have fun. And that was kind of my goal, at that time,
Maybe like a work hard, play hard
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. I mean, I had a couple of, the job that I ended up being at for 21 years, I worked there as a part-time, or not a part-time, a temporary, and had a couple friends get a hold of me. I'd been working there for like a year and a half, and had a couple friends get a hold of me and say, hey, we're going to go on tour with the Grateful Dead. Would you like to go? And I'm like, absolutely, let's go. And so we just went, it was like eight shows we went and saw, and it was super fun. And, it was just one of those things. And then I ended up, 4 or 5 years later, I got a job back with that same company. And, just retired from there. It's was vice president of corporate operations. So it was a good thing, It's just one of those, if you don't burn your bridges, they can come back and really reward you. And that was one thing that did.
So if I could have a conversation with Ryan in those moments, that kind of late 20s, things are going well, and I'm a pastor, so I'm always interested in how people connect to this larger power that we call love or God. Was that going through your mind at all? Something other than what you were going through in that moment? Or, tell me about that.
I think I was such a carefree person, but at the same time, also just scared to death. Because I didn't have the, probably the relationships that I wanted to have, like, say, with my parents. Not that I had bad relationships with them, but maybe they weren't as strong as I thought that I might have wanted at the time. But I think I was very scared through my 20s and 30s because I had no idea where I was headed. You don't, when you don't have a set path, and everybody tries to do that nowadays, like, oh, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to go for this, and I'm going to get a job. And I was nothing in that realm at all. So I spent a lot of time, unbeknownst to probably any of my friends or family, that just scared to death. What am I going to do? Was I making money? And yeah, I was doing okay, but I wasn't rich, and I wasn't, it was a struggle to pay bills and all that stuff. But I think I would consider myself more scared at that point than I was any time other than recently, just a scary, it's kind of hard to explain. It's not being just scared what tomorrow was going to bring.
Yeah.
Second guessing myself, second guessing my decisions.
But that was to yourself.
To myself.
To the world around you, you were just, man.
Bubbly guy, never,
hanging out, relaxed, just doing your thing.
Always having fun. Making people smile has always been making people laugh. It's kind of always been my thing. Got me in trouble a lot in school, but, it was okay. It was just having fun.
And so then you had this group of friends, and then you had, you mentioned your parents. Sibling? Do you have a sibling?
I have a brother, lives here in Lincoln, and we get along. We got along fairly well as young men, and, didn't see he got married, had a child, and really quick,
So you became an uncle?
Yeah, I became an uncle.
Like the cool uncle?
I was the cool uncle, but I also really liked to torment my niece. There was a couple of trips to Disney that I'm sure she would love to forget. Just me being me. But yeah, it was my brother's always been in my life and always will be in my life. So it's a good thing. But yeah, family, I have a couple aunts, an aunt that lives now here in Lincoln, but at the time lived in Wisconsin with one of my uncles. And, we always had kind of a good family relationship. I think there's probably more to that relationship up here that I don't know about.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Not sure I want to know.
All those dynamics, the
just
family
never know,
dynamics
yeah.
that you can never quite.
Never quite. And they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Because that, back then you just didn't talk about things like that.
Didn't you, were you an athlete or?
I was. Yeah. When I was young, I played all sorts of sports. I played baseball, football. I mean, pretty much anything you could play, I played. My dad was a coach of mine for a lot of years playing football, until I kind of got to high school, and just it just wasn't my thing anymore. My dad may have ruined that a little bit for me, just being your coach. He was my coach all through like midget football and junior high and all that, and then just day of said tryout for high school, he was there, and it was just not. After that, I just kind of stopped playing sports and started smoking. That's a regret, you have a regret. Those were some of the regrets that I look back on and go, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
So let's, at some point then in your 30s, late 30s, was it like a sense of settling down, or just your life just kind of happened to find itself in this place where then you decide meet someone and get married? I mean, tell me about that period when things began to change a bit.
You bet. So I had bought my own house, was pretty house broke at the time, was working for the company, but I also had taken a second job at a hardware store just right up from my house. So I was working hard, and but I was definitely, those are probably more my down days than anything, because I was too broke to really go do anything. Yeah, I had a house. I didn't have anybody to share it with. Nothing. It was just, and I remember telling my mom that I think I was like right at 30. I was 34, and I told my mom, if I don't meet somebody by the time I'm 35, I'm out of here. I'm moving somewhere else. It's just intervention. It was like 6 weeks later or something. I was at work at the hardware store, and a girl that I dated when I was super young, she was actually the very first girl I ever kissed, came in, and I immediately went and hid in the back room and was like, nope, I'm not ready to see her again. I haven't seen her for 10 years. So a couple weeks later, she came back in, and I said hi, and that was kind of it. And we've been married now for 15 years, I think, right in there. And she's the light of my life. She's the light of my life. She does everything for me. She helps me and has changed me and made me such a better person. But Kim is the best. She changed me, and it was just so nice. Just that change of how you feel, and everything turns a little brighter, and you feel a little bit different. And so that was the start of that. Yeah, that was fun.
So all of a sudden, things are now. So you have the house, you have your spouse now, Kim.
And she has 2 stepkids as well.
Oh, okay. So now, you're a dad.
Yeah, I'm a stepdad, which was, they were, luckily for me, they were 9 and 11, a boy and a girl, and those I can handle. Babies, well, I don't really like babies so much. So, I mean, I'm sure I remember the first time pulling up to her house, and they were outside playing, and they just stopped. And the look they gave me, I'm like, oh man, I'm in trouble.
What's happening?
Yeah, who's this guy?
Who is this guy?
But it was immediate.
So there's this family, and work is going well, right? You're feeling good, and so things are like really positive, right? Yeah. But at that point, again, you had not been connected to church in any way, right?
Nope.
Or anything else?
Not at all, other than just my own kind of, of course I'm praying for please don't let me lose this girl, do the
Oh,
right things,
kind of the life.
kind of my own spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
I hadn't
Yeah.
been to church or anything like that.
Yeah, and yet you still had a kind of center, right? You
Yeah.
still, I mean, the way I hear you describe, there was this. I mean, you wouldn't pray unless you believed there was some force listening or hearing.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Always had the spiritual
Yeah.
feeling and knew that there was something more there. Just I'd never taken the time.
Did you remember driving by First-Plymouth or hearing about First-Plymouth or?
When I was younger, I feel like I went to maybe a wedding here or something, and maybe a funeral or two here. But other than that, it's been very new to me.
Yeah, classic kind of young adult that comes
Yeah.
to a wedding or whatever.
Yeah.
So, okay, so things are looking up. The job's going well, the house, the family. In some ways, this is, you're describing, what many people aspire to,
for
right?
Sure.
And then, all of a sudden, something changes.
Yep.
Tell me about what led you were you not feeling well? What first led you to go to the doctor?
So it had been a couple months, where I had a couple pains here and there that were kind of odd. I'd been doing a lot of running, and I did some triathlons, some Ironmans, and had a few little pains here and there that I couldn't quite explain. But you don't think about it, like, yeah, I'm working out, like I should be sore, my legs should be tired, all this stuff. But what had happened, I'd been kind of having headaches, and so I was eating ibuprofen like it was candy, and went to work on a Friday, and it was myself and my assistant supervisor at the time, and man, I just kind of got really dizzy and blurry, and was like, just had to go sit in my office, and hadn't ever felt that before. Went home, and I took a nap for about 7 hours.
Whoa.
And I at that time didn't take naps.
Yeah.
If I had free time, I was out running and so I called my doctor that afternoon. He said, well, if you still don't feel right the next morning, you should go to the ER.
Oh, wow.
And because I'd kind of been in to see him already a couple times, just, hey, and he didn't really see anything, or, he wasn't looking for not his fault, just wasn't.
You were young and you were healthy.
Exactly. So I ended up going, it was 2021. So COVID was still kind of going on, and you still had to wear a mask, and so I ended up going to Bryan West.
And how old were you at the time?
48.
48. Okay, so 48 years old. You go
And
to the
I
doctor.
go to the doctor, and I go in the ER, and you know how the ER is. You get in there, and it sometimes is really slow. But I went in super early, 7 in the morning, nobody in there. I came in and said, well, we're going to give you a CAT scan or an MRI or something. And, usually that's they did it right away, but usually you wait for a couple hours. And they were back in my room in about 10 minutes.
Whoa.
And they said, well, yeah, we see something on the top of it was actually on the top of my left lung is what they saw first.
Okay.
And they said, well, we're going to go in and we're going to do a full body scan. And then they came back about 10 minutes after that and said that I had a golf ball sized tumor in the side of my head. And also tumor in my lung.
Your lung.
So that was, that was boom, like, whoa. And like, I think 3 days later, I had that tumor removed out of my head. I had a craniotomy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they just said, look, we're going to go in and we're going to take it out. And that was that. And
So at that moment, like, they were aggressive, right? You're 48 years old.
yeah.
They see it. They go in and they do this. How were you? What was the prognosis at that time?
So after I got out of the hospital and kind of healed, I'd been going to the doctor and stuff. And because it started here, my left lung, and it spread to my brain. So at that point in time, stage 4 lung cancer that has spread to your brain. It was the diagnosis. And, I knew what it was. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good,
Right, sure.
But I bounced back from that surgery so fast, and I was still running, still doing all these things. I ended up, after a 6-month period, I ended up doing a half Ironman with cancer, with having all this stuff going on, because they didn't really I did chemo for this and radiation there was a couple other little ones in my head, and it didn't hold me back, but the things in my head kept growing.
Oh.
So these things just kept popping up. So the first year was tough. First 6 months was tough, and then I was like, I'm good, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize slowly but surely. But yeah, that was a tough year. The first year was tough.
One of the reasons why I wanted us to sit, and you recently had done another podcast, and so that's what brought the idea. Sometimes in the church, in our efforts to be joyful, we don't have these kind of conversations because these conversations are hard. And so I want to thank you for, sitting with us in this way and sharing, because I think so many people can connect with your story, but also they have a loved one or a friend, that's going through this kind of journey with cancer or any other of the many ways in which human beings can get sick. So you get this diagnosis, you have the surgery, but then you're saying you kind of bounce back. You're young, you're healthy, other than the cancer thing. But then, and you're just living your life.
Just kind of trying to live life normally. I'm still doing some every 3-week therapy. And it really did. It kept this stuff at bay.
Okay, your lung cancer.
Lung cancer stuff at bay for, it's been 3.5 years. It kind of kept it at bay. But the head was still giving me some issues. So I'd go in and do radiation here and there, and it would take some of it away. So the second kind of bout that I had was I was coming home from work, and one of the locations on 56 and I-80, so I could just hop on the interstate and boom, I'm home in the Highlands pretty quickly. And I was about halfway down the interstate, and I didn't pass out or anything like that, but I probably drove on the shoulder for, I don't know, a half mile and didn't even know it.
Wow.
And that was like, whoa, what was that? Went in immediately the next day and had a couple scans done, and I think it was a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks after that, I had another craniotomy. So I had another tumor that was taken out. That one was a little bit harder for me to recover from. And it just kept, every time I had a surgery, I would go down a little bit more and a little bit more. And so that was a tough one. And it scared me. It scared my wife, because it's like, oh, this is, but you know what, in my head, and this is a later thought.
Yeah.
In my head, though, I was still completely in denial of how serious it was,
Sure.
I was completely like, I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm going to be fine.
Almost like that 20-something that says, I got this.
Yeah, for sure.
So so tell me then during this period, you talked about praying, in the early relationship with Kim. Was there any of that spirituality piece to this at this point? Were you, though you still thought you had it, at what point did the crisis come? I guess I'm trying to get at the spiritual, because it was a spiritual crisis.
Yeah. At that time, I was praying more and more.
What were you praying for, if you don't mind me asking? What
it's kind of funny. We were just talking about this in Bible study. I was praying to just be cured.
Oh, okay.
Sure. You get this false sense of, you're like, oh, if I just pray about this,
right?
It's just, I don't know, it's in your mind. And so I was praying to be healed. I was praying to be not sick, I guess, and
Yeah.
and we'll get to it. But boy, howdy, has my prayers changed. The way I pray now is so different than
Yeah.
how it was, But yeah, I was praying. I don't want to say I was falsely praying.
No, no.
Because that's not it, but it was a prayer of what I thought I knew
At the moment.
at the moment. I wanted to make myself feel better, maybe.
Sure.
And it did. I'm like, well, I prayed today. I feel better.
Right.
And sometimes you got to blend it with how you pray and what you pray for, but also be realistic that it's not always realistic,
And one of the things that, it's not uncommon because in some ways the prayer reflects where we just are, right? And I think sometimes later on you can look back and go, oh my gosh, this wasn't, but yet it was. It was the real thing in that moment.
Yeah.
It was your own way of connecting to God, right? And in some ways that prayer then paves the way for this journey that then in some ways brought you to us, right?
Yes, 100%.
So what was that about? How did you end up, you're not going to church, you haven't been to church in a long time,
Yep.
and you're not really even thinking about church. Of course, there's this cancer that comes, and now you're like, so then why church?
So it was, kind of sounds like a broken record here, but I had to have another surgery.
Oh, okay.
Had to have a third craniotomy, another tumor taken out of my head. And that one really put me down for a while. And I just started to get sad.
Oh,
And, I was praying and it was helping, but it wasn't helping. And I just didn't know where to go. And my beautiful wife, she could see it.
yeah.
She could see the sadness in my face, and I had all these emotions that I didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And she could see that. And so she talked to her sister and my brother-in-law, and they recommended me. They had been coming here about a year. And they recommended me to come. And I oddly, I didn't hesitate.
Oh,
I think I'll go.
okay.
And I'm not, again, I think, people look at church, and I was probably one of these people like, oh, I don't want to go do that. That sounds like an hour of boring, So it's funny, but I just jumped right on board, and I came and I saw you and Jim preach, and it immediately changed my life. It immediately changed who I was and how I felt, because there was a connection. I don't know what it is or what it was at the time. I kind of know what it is now.
Yeah.
But it just felt good. And and at that time I was still recovering pretty hard. I think it was Thanksgiving-ish of this last year. And I was still going through it. I was really not feeling well. And then I came and met with you first,
Right.
and that conversation was just amazing. I mean, and here's I think the thing that you didn't really necessarily tell me anything I didn't already know,
Right.
but you made it okay. You made me feel that the way I was feeling was okay.
Yeah.
And it's not, I wasn't wrong for feeling that way. And that was the beginning of a very good relationship that I've created with First-Plymouth. It's been super fun. I've really enjoyed learning and reading, but just also being here every week, you know, and it's uplifting. I find myself going home and rewatching it, online, just because it's, sometimes I will get to, you guys will say something, whether it's you, Jim, or KJ, and I'm just off thinking about something that you said, and then I'm like, oh, I just missed 10 minutes. And then I have to go back and kind of rewatch and okay, I didn't remember them saying that, and it just makes me feel better. And I'll watch them in the middle of the week. It's, just as a little uplifting thing for me. And
So you had this kind of a aha moment, the realization that you had cancer, that this cancer was not going to go away, and that this cancer will take your life. But now you're in this community.
yeah.
You're coming to worship. You're connected. Tell me about that aha moment, about mortality, about death, and what was going through your mind when you had that moment?
Yeah, it was. So it's been a couple months now, maybe a month and a half since I kind of went to the doctor and they kind of gave me the diagnosis that I could do more chemo or I could do nothing. And I think I came here and talked to you the very next day. But that moment for me, just for in general, even just coming to church was just, they say, or if you pray about it and you feel, I don't know, there was just something that said, this is the right place to be. I'm right where I need to be. Right where I need to be. I don't know what told me that, but there was something about every time I walk into the church, I feel like I'm getting a hug.
Oh, yeah.
When I talk to anybody in the church, I just feel a connection of most people that I've talked to here. They don't know exactly what I have going on, and
that's right.
but they're still compassionate and caring. And I don't know that I found that anywhere else. So the when I got the news that this was going to take my life, I stopped praying for, can you just heal me?
Right.
I might have had a couple days in there where I was upset.
Oh no, of
that
course.
You just can't heal me. Can't you just help me out?
Yeah.
Then you realize it's not really how it works, and
right.
There are other things that the Lord does to heal, and as soon as I kind of realized that, by coming in here, I spend a lot of time in the prayer room, and it's I'm praying for it. Every time I pray, I just feel a little lighter, a little more at ease, and I think I've come to terms with dying, and with your help and Jim's help even, but the congregation's help.
Yeah.
There are some people too that I've spoke to that knew what it was going on with me. I didn't know them at all, and they were like, we just wanted to say we're praying for you, and that makes you feel good.
So, what would you describe it? This young man, and I can still see that young man in your eyes, the carefree, the relaxed, the let's just live life, and what if you were to talk to that young man, what would you tell him?
Do it again.
Do it again.
Do it again. I have a few regrets. When I first met you, you asked me to write down my regrets. I didn't get a very big list. No, I didn't. I just a few. I wish I went to quit. I wish I went to start smoking. That was, but I had so much fun as a young man, and I'll say from 7, 8 to my teenage years to my 20s. I mean, we just a different day and age. It was just different and so much fun. And I would just say, do it again. Don't be scared. The other thing that I regret that I do have though is find your faith early. Because I think it would have helped me through my 20s and 30s to get rid of some of that angst and anxiety that I had over, am I doing the right things? Am I, should I be married? Should I have all these things? When you talk to, when you pray to the Lord, you have to look for the signs, but they're there, and that today anyway, has helped me so much. So much.
So we don't talk about death and dying in the church a lot, unless you go to a funeral. Even then, we're a little shy about it,
Yeah.
you know. So if you were to reflect on that process, because I've seen it in you, from this kind of despairing to this joy-filled, free-spirited, right? I actually see that young man in you now because of this journey that you've been in. What is that about? Because it's not like it's going to change the outcome. Now you are in a place in your life where really your days are truly numbered. Now we don't know what that looks like, but what sustains that?
I think, wanting to not leave this world, or
Yeah.
and have people be sad about it.
Oh, interesting.
It's when you come to terms with dying, it feels, I'm searching for the word, it feels like a valiant effort has been made. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I feel strong now
Yeah.
because I'm okay. Do I want to die? No.
Oh, no. Of
I'm
course.
okay with it, though. It is, when you get all your things in line and your life is kind of settled,
Yeah.
the freeing power that it gives you is very, it sounds weird, but it is very uplifting, because I don't know when, but I do know the outcome.
Yeah.
And that's better than anything. That's better. And I spent the last 3.5 years not knowing anything. Now I've taken control of my life, and I've decided to not do any more treatments. So it's on my terms.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very freeing effort, a very freeing feeling that you just can, man, if you can wrap your head around it, it is something, let me tell you.
One of the reasons why I'm so glad that we're sitting together is that we often want people to live their life like that. I want folks to find that freedom.
Yeah.
Not wait till you have a terminal illness diagnosis or a tragedy. No, because part of what Jesus says is to live life abundantly.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the things you're doing in these last days.
Oh, we're trying to be more spontaneous and just go travel. We've the one thing I can say of having cancer, I mean, me and my wife have traveled so much in the last 3 years. We've been to Europe, tons of Caribbean places. We went to Florida a few weeks ago. We're headed to go do some tubing this weekend, something I haven't done in 30 years. And, and then just a family vacation to Branson. And we have another Florida trip, I think, in September that we're looking at. And, we're just trying to have fun. And, a good friend of mine, Stephen's ministry guy, told me, don't wait till you feel good to start not living. And he is absolutely right. No reason to wait. I mean, yep, I got days that I don't feel great, but doesn't mean I can't go float in my pool for 3 hours or whatever.
Well, I am so thankful, Ryan, that Divine Life brought you our way. And I'm thankful that Divine Life brought you my way. And as a pastor and as a fellow sojourner, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Is there a last word you want to leave with our folks as they listen to you today?
I just would tell everybody, if, no matter the struggle, just go out and live your life. I mean, it is, life goes fast. I'm 51. I can't believe I'm 51. I still feel like a young man. But you don't know when it's going to end. So, take the bike ride. Go for the swim. Whatever it may be, do it. Because, you know, and do it with God in your life, because he can help you, and he will help you. And I think sometimes it may take you a little while to figure out how he's helping you. But for me anyway, it's always come around like, I've had a lot of aha moments in the last few months. So live your life and have as much fun as you can, and enjoy your family and friends, and do your thing.
Ryan King, church member at First-Plymouth, a free-spirited dude, and a person that's in this journey of life and death, who shared it with us. Thank you, Ryan, so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.